Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Welcome
What
back.
brings you here today?
I think we need to talk about how we're not so perfect.
Yes, welcome to the Not So Perfect podcast. I am Gerardo Cornejo,
Matt Chinn,
and we're back.
we're back. Had a little issue on the last one. We had some droopage.
We're learning.
We're learning.
We're learning. We want to
No
make it good, not perfect, not too perfect.
No droopage today.
Yeah,
So
no
we learned.
droopage today.
We learned.
And we're up close. Hopefully you guys can hear us, and we're back.
We're back. So, what's new? How's your week?
We are done with January this week. First of the month's been fantastic. A lot of work, flipping houses. The ice is finally off the ground.
Yeah, thank God.
It felt like summer out there today.
It's hot.
Yep, it's hot. And are your people still on track?
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, I had some people that had to take a little hiatus because of the holidays. Just couldn't commit to what we needed to do, and they knew that, so they didn't want to waste my time or theirs. But I got those people started back up this week, and they are itching.
Yes.
They were missing it
Did you get to run outside?
today.
Yes, he's back.
Today, finally, had sidewalks that were accessible, that were not ice covered, so it's very beneficial.
Yeah, so we've been talking. What have we been talking about?
Well,
running was one of them.
running was
getting
one of them, 'cause
outside,
that's my.
where do we find peace at?
That's my where I find peace. That doesn't associate to love. I don't love to run. I love how I feel after I run. But yeah, so we've just been working on that. That's what I do for one of my tools in my toolbox when things get a little hairy. I run, or I do a hard workout.
So things get hairy for you, man. You're
All the
not
time.
perfect. You're
Nope.
like you show up for all your clients.
Never been, never gonna be, never been, never gonna be, and that's all right. And that's where we're at today. We got to be okay with not being okay.
Yeah, last week we talked about overthinking, some relationships and parenting,
Yeah.
and then since then today we got to chat earlier about that
Yep.
a little bit.
Yeah, we did. So what kind of led to? We'll rewind a little bit.
Yep.
What brought this step of mine to move forward? So last weekend I turned 40. So I'm
Happy
old
birthday, man! Welcome to the 40
I'm
Club.
old as hell. I'm on the downhill slide, according to everybody. But no, it was a couple things went into the decision, but the decision that we're talking about that we got to discuss earlier was I started therapy yesterday. I did the online through BetterHelp, and it was good. Had a good first appointment, good first session. I really enjoyed the lady that I got paired with, a fellow person in recovery, so that helps.
And you talked to a real person, not an AI person.
Well, I think she was real.
Okay, yeah.
AI's getting pretty good. No, but she was great. She's out of Kansas City, so someone close, but not next door neighbors. So it was nice having someone to be able to talk to that has no ties to me. Doesn't know me any different from Peter or Paul or whoever. But just the fact that off the bat found out that she'd been sober since 1987, that gave me a very good peace of mind. Just knowing I was talking to somebody that understands what I was going through, just from that aspect of it. But the main thing that led me to that decision, and I started thinking about it last week. I was kind of having a rough patch, and I had to step back and kind of look at myself and say, all right, what are we doing differently that we haven't done before? And I had to rewind back whenever I got sober, like, what did I have to do to get sober? I had to ask for help. So it's been 5.5 years since I've been sober, and I've got a pretty good grasp on that. But I still have other issues that are kind of what led me to the drinking, So stuff that's not really alcohol related that I can't really talk to or get a lot of answers from in my meetings I go to. So I decided I need to do something different. And this is what we did.
Yeah, I mean that's a step to get to sobriety from where you were at.
Yeah.
And now there's another big step and then another step. It's never ending, right?
So life's got a whole bunch of steps.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the top yet, so I'll just keep stepping until we get close.
We're on our way there.
But yeah, so but once I kind of made that decision last week, I was like, I need to do something different. Then I kind of looked into some more and found I've looked around town, but I felt like for me to really truly be open, I needed to do something outside of this. And this was great because I can schedule my own time. whatever day, and it's very flexible with busy people or crazy schedules. You don't have to devote, driving there, driving back, going to an office. So we were able to do it. I was actually running late from an appointment previously, so had to start the meeting in my truck with the voice or the video on. So, but no, it was great. It was just a lot of introductory stuff.
Should we put a link down there? It's because it's not sponsored by them.
We're not sponsored. This is a non-sponsored plug, if you will. So,
what was it called?
BetterHelp. BetterHelp. There's an app. You can go to BetterHelp.com. The app's super easy. I downloaded it.
For all ages?
Yeah. It can be over anything, major, minor,
and
kids,
then like you podcast every day. I walk in here, you're reading all the time. That's still not enough. You still need to go talk to someone.
Yeah, I need more and the reason why I need more because, as bad as the drinking led my life, the road that drinking led my life down was bad, but there was something that led me to start going down that path. And it had nothing to do with alcohol, but it was childhood, upbringing, just the stuff we all go through. We got questions we don't have answers to, or, our role models growing up, or just the environment we grew up in, dictates a lot of how we are and why we act the way we do. And a lot of monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
So
the consistency of growing up at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I just needed more, and I found the BetterHelp. Super easy. Downloaded the app. Just answers a couple different surveys up front, and then you can kind of click on what you're wanting to work on. Whether it be like addiction or whether it be abuse or whatever it is. They cover all areas, and once you submit all the forms, and they just kind of give you an open form, you can type as little or as much as you want about what you're looking to get out of this. What are your goals? What are your expectations? So I think I was done filling everything out within 15, 20 minutes. So, it wasn't a real big nerve wracker or like a lot of tough questions. It's just to kind of help pair you with the right, and they do this to find more about who you are, to match you with the right person. Because that's a big thing too. If you don't have a connection with someone, you're not probably going to fully open up the way you would if it was somebody that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So it helped me a lot.
And it's tough opening up.
Yeah. But honestly, comparing it to getting sober 5.5 years ago, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because it was embarrassing. It was, you're around a bunch of strangers and you got to tell them all the bad stuff you used to do and what you're here for. And, basically you're just calling out your own faults to strangers.
Yeah.
I was scared to death. But so that was hard, This decision wasn't super hard. I just had to get back in that thinking mindset of, okay, you keep banging your head off of the wall day after day after day looking for a solution. That's not how we're going to find our solution. We got to think outside the box and get, the help that you need from someone that knows how to handle this stuff. Yeah. That's not attached to me, that doesn't know me, doesn't know my story, so they can be impartial about just their treatment plan, But yeah, so yesterday was, we did 45 minutes. It was basically just intros, She introduced herself and kind of told me a little bit about her. I told her about myself. First thing she wanted to know was, I told her how I'd survived a couple near-death experiences, and she wanted to know right away, one of the things I typed in my little forum that you could submit at the end was how I broke my neck in Hawaii. And so she wanted to know, how did that happen? I'm like, well, a lot of questions about that because I don't really know, I was
curious about too when I heard
last thing I remember,
you broke your neck in Hawaii.
Me and my buddy, I was there for one of my best friend's weddings, and we got there, the first day we got there, we got packed or unpacked, unsettled, and then we went and met him. And, we weren't out super late just because we traveled all day, so it was kind of a shorter night. But last thing I remember is me and my buddy got to our hotel room. He went to bed in his bed. I thought I was in my bed at some point, because I remember that. And then next thing you know, I wake up and I'm in Honolulu Memorial Hospital with a neck brace, and my right knee was basically the size of 2 soccer balls side by side, and I had 18 stitches in the back of my head. So there's a lot of trauma that comes with that. A lot of questions.
Yes.
and I didn't have a lot of them.
And you just flew right back.
No, nope. That would probably have been the smarter thing to do, but I stuck around because I was planning on making this like an extended vacation because I was going to go with the buddy that got married. They were going to do some island hopping, so I was going to do that too. But I stuck it out 5 more days to make it to the wedding, and then I moved my flight up to get out the next day with 2 of my buddies that were also, just so I had someone to help me with everything. So I was basically.
So you in a neck brace?
Oh yeah, neck brace. Wheelchair through the airport. I had a cane, so I was doing that when we were not airport traveling. So I made it to the wedding, and then the reception, like things just started getting real tough. So I excused myself and made it back to the hotel room. But so basically from what we've uncovered, the parking garage attendant found me in the middle of the parking garage, just unconscious, and the way he found me was like a pool of blood that was just kind of running down the parking garage, and he just followed it, and there I was, just in the middle of the garage. So not really sure what happened. There wasn't any no ledges, like if I was sleepwalking, there's no way that would have happened. So I don't know, just a lot of question marks.
And you haven't been back since?
No, I have not. But so the one thing that I did not find out until I got on the plane to fly back from Hawaii to Dallas and Dallas to Columbia, they didn't tell me that my neck was broke at the airport or at the hospital. So I found out once I got on the plane in an 8-hour flight, needless to say, that an altitude of broken neck is exacerbated by about 1 million. So basically the entire flight, I had tears rolling down my face. I was on like 10 times the medication I should have been on, and was just in excruciating pain, like a pain that I can't describe. So I told my therapist yesterday, I said, well, I don't have suicidal ideations except for that flight. Like if I could have ended it, I would, because it was that bad, and it was 8 hours, So got to Dallas, and my best friend's wheelchairing me to the next terminal, and he's a firefighter EMT, so he's pushing me, and he's like, Matt, I don't know how to tell you this, man, but the back of your neck's green. And I'm like, what's that mean? He's like, that means you got internal bleeding going on of some sort. So it's like, all right. So he's like, you need to call somebody now, like your surgeon that did your previous neck surgery. Like you need to give him a call, and you need to figure something out.
This was the second time you had broken your neck.
Second time, yeah. This one was more severe though. So called my surgeon from Dallas and was like, we got an emergency. I need to be in there 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I did, showed up. We did the x-ray. Get done with the x-ray. We go into the exam room where I'm talking to the physician's assistant, and he didn't get 2 words out until the surgeon just burst through the door, like out of breath, just staring at me like, "What? How are you not dead or paralyzed?" And I'm like, just lucky, I guess. So I didn't realize the severity of it. I could tell by his reaction that, boy, this must be pretty bad. So he's like, all right, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And I was like, oh, we're doing MRI tomorrow morning? He's like, no, we're doing surgery tomorrow morning. I'm like, I thought last time we did an MRI. He's like, dude,
you're
not
broken.
Necessary. Dude, it's broke. It's easy to see on the x-ray, So, yeah, that did that, and then had a month recovery and was back at it.
A month recovery.
Yeah,
from breaking your neck.
That was that.
You are superhuman.
No. No, I don't think if you're superhuman,
I got this cut on my nail for like a month now.
Yeah. If you're superhuman, you don't feel pain, I don't think. So I'm not superhuman because I felt every bit of that.
So pain. Running a 2-3 hour marathon is nothing compared to 8 hours of broken neck.
I'm flattered that you
40,000 feet.
I'm flattered that you think I fall in that 2 to 3 hour marathon time, but it's more like a 3.5 hour to 4 hour marathon time. But
I was close. I was close.
Yeah, no, and that's, I think that's part of what makes me want to keep running and doing all those things is because there is pain associated with it, and for me it's almost like I'm deserving of this pain because of all the stuff I've done. You know what I mean? So I use it as like a negative fuel, to keep the gas tank full. Is that healthy? I don't think so, but
that's how some people are wired.
yeah. I mean, whenever I think about it, and I know it's not quote unquote healthy, but I always think back to Michael Jordan's story about when they were in Seattle and George Karl was at the same restaurant as them, and he walked by. He's like, "Hey, Mike, good luck. Good luck with the playoffs. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good luck." Well, Michael didn't hear any of that. Michael heard, "You're terrible. We're gonna stomp you. We're gonna murder you." And he went out and had just like a series like he had every other playoff series. He would, whether he had to either he created that friction that wasn't there, or if somebody talked. I mean, we all know what happened to the people that actually talked trash to his face in the middle of the game. Mm-hmm. Most of them didn't finish the game. So I kind of look at it like that. I use it as a fuel for that. But we're working on other tools as well. Maybe positive fuel.
Because I'm having that battle in my head. Like, what can I be? So like, I've seen you working out, I've seen you dialed in, and I'm trying to get to that point in my life. What am I gonna do where I could just dial in and work out? When I'm playing with my kids, I'm there.
Yeah, you're there,
present.
Mm-hmm.
But like more of a self thing to do, because like I hear the guys that run the ultra marathons. Stacy just found out our chiropractor used to do ultra marathons, and how crazy those guys are that their foot's pretty much falling off of their body, and they're still running till mile 98 or hour 98, whatever mile, however that is. And to be that insane to train that hard, I've never got into that bad. So I don't know what it is. Like you said, it's negative fuel, you said.
Yeah. So it's almost, I don't know, I'd put it along the same lines as like why I enjoyed, like after I got sober, I didn't have any tattoos before I got sober. And then whenever I got sober, I was like, you know what? I've got something in mind that I actually want on my body forever, and not a I heart mom that you're going to regret at some point, But what I noticed was like I got my first one, and it's just like everyone told me like, be ready, you're going to get that itch. Like you're going to want a lot of them, you're going to want another one, another one. And I'm like, that's be fine, I'll just did the one. And
which was the first one?
Right arm, the tiger. But
and how many now since?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And the one in here?
No. You flip my eyelids up. No, it's
those are coming.
But even like when getting a tattoo, like that pain that you suffer while sitting there doing nothing, it's almost rewarding in a weird way, if that makes any kind of sense. Because it's like that pain, you're just like, because whenever I'm in there, I'm like, well, I'm not moving and wiggling and taking breaks because I'm not mama didn't raise no beat, And, I remember my guy that did the work, he posted on his Instagram page and was like, my boy Chinn sat like a stone for an hour and 15 minutes, and it's just like.
Just taking it in.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did, But that's just that tough guy, trapped in the back of my head trying to figure stuff out. But it was kind of interesting that you brought that up, because I just finished a podcast with Mr. Cam Haynes, who you hear me brag about all the time.
Yes.
He had on arguably one of the best ultra marathoners, long distance runners, Courtney DeWalter.
Okay.
She is an absolute beast.
A she.
And she whips guys all the time.
How old is she?
She's probably like mid-30s or 40s.
How many times has she broken her neck? How many tattoos does she have?
I don't know.
I mean,
She didn't divulge into that, but it was interesting because they were talking. They took some Q&A from like people that emailed in.
Yeah.
And because her thing is like she's the happy runner. She's always like, it doesn't matter if it's the Moab 240 and she's on mile 203. Courtney, how you doing? Fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And they were talking like about if you could jump into someone else's mind while you're in the middle of a 240-mile race. Yeah.
Okay.
Whose mind would you want to go into? And like they were both kind of chatting back and forth. They're just like, oof, I don't know. And they're like, honestly, I think you need to be careful with that, because if you get in someone else's head, they might be crazier than you. You know what I mean? Or they might have crazier, you might not be able to handle
Because
it.
off the bat, you want to choose like Michael Jordan.
Or like David Goggins. That was my first thought. It's like 240 miles of that. Listen up here, hard time. You know what I mean? Just where most, some people are. He's like, because even Cam Hanes was talking. He goes, I don't know. He's like, I think I just had to stay in mine. Like, I'd be afraid if anybody else picked my brain because they'd think I'm freaking crazy.
They don't know what's going on today.
And but yeah, so that's what they were talking about today. And but yeah, she's the type that she doesn't look like she. You pass her on the street and just not think anything of it. You wouldn't notice.
Just a beast.
But she's just beast. So she talks about that. But it was pretty neat how they were both like, because they both paused for a minute. They're like, "Ooh, yeah, I don't think I'd want to be in someone else's brain. I'd be afraid I'd get in someone's brain and they'd be crazy or whatever, So,
might throw you off a little bit.
Yeah, but
like, oh, this guy's soft. He's not that hard.
But I think one of the things about, like with me, it's one of those things where I'm motivated by doing hard things because, I know I can physically. The 20-mile-a-day challenge, well, there's no easy way to go about doing 20 miles a day, outside of just doing it. So for me, like, I like the challenge. And if I know every day I'm going to run 10 miles and I don't have to worry about, well, it's Tuesday, so I got 2 miles less than I did yesterday. Well, then we're doing 2 more miles on next week. I'm not that smart. I need to keep it real simple, So for me, I know every day it's 10. Okay, where are you at? I'm at 5. Okay, we got 5 more. You made it to 6 and you had to take a break. Cool, you got 4 more.
You don't think about it that much. That's the best way to get it done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've told you this story before too, where David Goggins will sit there and just stare at his shoes for 20, 30 minutes, just like, I don't want to do this. It's that inner bitch. It's just, it gets loud sometimes, but I've had that same thing happen to me where I was like, you know what? Fine. You want to sit here and have this conversation with yourself? We're going to go to the park where we start running from, and then we can have that conversation there. And we're just going to sit there.
Well, I was just thinking, if you would have called me out, like, I didn't bring the right shoes, man. I got my boots today.
I bet we could fish up a pair of shoes for you real quick. But no, so for me, it's just that daily challenge. I know I've got to physically challenge myself because I know the benefits of it when I'm done with my day.
Yeah.
I sleep easy. I don't have those negative connotations like I do if I don't. So basically the volume, the more miles I run, that volume just goes down in my head, So what's harder than running 10 miles a day? Running 20 miles a day. What's harder than doing that? Running 20 miles a day for 28 days straight. What's harder than that? Training for a marathon. What's harder than that? Running 4 marathons back to back to back to back days. So I'm always looking for that next hard thing.
Jeez.
So the workouts and stuff, like, I enjoy working out, so that's not really the challenge that I'm looking for. That's just, I enjoy it. It's fun. Some people like to read, some people like to knit, some people like to remodel stuff. Like, that's great. That's what I do, and I feel good afterwards. Feel good, look good, don't smell good.
I know, like
that's
the
all right.
cover of the magazine's right behind us, so it's a reminder every time we go in and out.
Every time they go in there for that sugar cookie that somebody left.
You mentioned sleep. You do sleep?
I do. I try and go to bed by 10 o'clock every night. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 10:30, but it's never later than that. Which at first, getting sober, that was a hard thing to get into a good sleep pattern because late nights is whenever I was usually out. So that's when things would get stir crazy. But that's also what also got me into running, I didn't have a vehicle at the time, no license, so I was either at my house or I was at work or meetings or, AA meetings, whatever.
You want to start running, get rid of your vehicle.
It helps. Yeah, back against the wall. And especially in this town, we didn't really have Uber or Lyft. I don't know what it's like now, but
or taxis.
It was hard, because we didn't really have a cab company anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't guarantee Tuesday night after I got off work at 11:30 that there was going to be an Uber available or a Lyft or whatever. So every day I'd walk in with my backpack and my clothes and my running shoes, and I'd go from the front of house manager at Madison's wearing my fine button-up shirts and slacks to the grind, man, just running home 5 miles.
And then you can rest the brain and sleep.
Yeah. Yep. So for me, it was one of those things that it got better over time, you know.
Yeah.
But again, it was that hard, long exercise that just I'd go home and I'd hit that pillow and I was out before I even made contact, you know. So once I got in that habit and that routine where I didn't have all this extra, you know, energy left over, sleep was the thing.
And I try to help people out because you know I hear a lot of people, and even with my age, and so I got no sleep last night.
Yeah.
I got no sleep. I took melatonin. I tried this. It was like, man, like, because I went down that rabbit hole to find out how I can love sleep.
Yeah.
You know, like I love to sleep now, and now I'm into like now where you go when you sleep. Like it's freedom.
Mm.
You know, you get to dream and go wherever. Our dreams are insane, anyways, right?
Yeah.
So we get to do that in our dreams. So it's just enjoying, fall in love with sleep, and I don't know how to recommend anybody to do that, but meditation help.
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus, he broke it down on how he calms himself down to go to sleep, 6 deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of resets him every time.
Yeah.
So started with that, and then slowly like gravity pulls me into the bed.
Yeah.
Every breath.
When you're focusing on your breath like that, and it's, you know, you've had a long day and you got everything running through your head from the kids to the work to the job to the side job to the whatever, what you got to do tomorrow, like all that stuff. So it's just like a roller coaster on repeat, you know, it just goes over and over. So if you can focus on a meditation or a breathing exercise when you lay down, or, you know, listen to something that's soothing when you're going to bed, it allows you to spend that time that you're thinking on all these things on one thing: breath. Okay, or meditation, or your presence.
The one thing you can control at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't control what's going on tomorrow.
Everybody's asleep by 2 in the morning.
Fingers crossed we wake up tomorrow. You know, we don't know. So that's why it's important to make the best out of every day. And, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, that I hear talk about, you know, I can't sleep, I can't lose weight, I'm having trouble with this, or I'm borderline type 2 diabetes, or whatever it is they're struggling with. You know, a lot of it's just lifestyle choices, you know, and that's a hard thing to pill for people to swallow. But, you know, I've come a long way, and how have I done that is by being honest with myself and those around me that are impacted by my mood, my attitude, my, you know, just seeing me every day on a daily basis. You know, so it's not easy, but you gotta come to realization if you want to get better at something, whether it be your diet, your exercise habits, just how you interact with your spouse, your kids. You got to be honest with yourself, and, you know, just being honest with yourself and being okay with being who you are, which I'm not perfect and I'll never be perfect. I always thought that I could be perfect. I thought that was like a shelf you could reach. But by admitting that you're not perfect, it's going to take all that pressure of being perfect off of you. And, you know, again, just
it's freedom.
That's one extra 10-pound plate you got sitting on your shoulders that you can take off, you know, and after time, you got a whole stack of them sitting over there, and you're moving a lot easier. But I think a lot of it's got to do with just the daily diet, the lack of activity, the lack of sunshine.
Pattern.
Yeah. You know, and even if it's, you know, I know most of our state workers here, they get 3 15-minute breaks throughout the day, and the studies that are coming out now of just 3 15-minute walks a day to just regulate your blood sugar, your blood pressure. You know, it's a great way to get some free vitamin D, you know, some sunlight. You know, so it's important to prioritize those things. And especially if you're in a place now where you're just not happy with yourself, you got to start with some basic things, you know.
And ask for help. Have someone help.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you, who do you have an accountability partner? But you do things with your clients, you know, like the 75 hard.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got
to check in.
I have my people in my life my foxhole people. You know, that small group of people. It's very hard to have a big group of like best friends. You know what I mean? We all have those 5 people that
everybody's got a life.
When things get weird, I'm calling one of those 5 people. You know, but for me, I have a great, you know, my best friend. He's a firefighter, and that was the one that was wheeling me through the airport with the broken neck. We meet once a week, you know, maybe once every 2 weeks, just every now and again our schedules just don't work with him working a different type of schedule with being a firefighter. But we know the worst about each other, you know, we know the worst and best out of us, so there's no judgment, you know. And with his job, you can imagine that's stressful.
Yeah.
He's got 3 kids at home, that's stressful. Wife at home, that's stressful. His wife's having car trouble the other day, so he's on a 48-hour straight shift. He can't just, hey boys, I got to pop out and get my wife's car
I
started.
never thought about that.
So yeah, so just he, so he's got stuff that he's, that builds up, and every week we unload, and it's just nice. Someone else listening, someone else giving some advice.
Just please listen. Just please listen to your friends.
Yeah.
Or that circle. Just no need for response.
Yeah.
No need for reaction. Just listen.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
And we do it over a meal. So we know if I know next Wednesday it's my lunch date with Matt. I'm going to be on about a 48-hour fast, and we're going to absolutely annihilate some sushi or whatever it is we decide to do, But we get excited for it, It's like, oh man, Gerardo and them had cookies in the break room today, and they offered me one.
No, we didn't.
I didn't have it because I knew we were having sushi tomorrow, But I get excited for it, It's not something I dread, because it's my best friend. I love him, and he loves me, and and we're okay that we're not perfect, that we struggle, that we have problems, and I'm here to help him as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's just listening. Sometimes I've been in a similar situation, and this is what I did.
Yep.
But it's no finger pointing. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like, well, I know whenever I was in a similar situation, I tried this and this and this, and those all work pretty good. But every situation is different, so you just don't know. But the main thing is just having someone there to listen.
Yeah.
Because for me, like where I get in trouble is whenever those conversations are internal. Because, all the reasons
There's
why
a million of them.
all the reasons
day.
why I'm doing therapy. My self-talk, my self-love, self-worth. Like, that red devil on my shoulder, he just chips away all day at that character that I'm, trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was just one of those deals that just needed to change it up. I was doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results, expecting different results. So, got to take the initiative. But like I said, this has been great. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I got another meeting with her next week, and we're going to do that once a week. And she recommended a few books and then a couple articles. So I haven't
got a book we can share with everybody?
Yeah, actually, I think it's Carlos. So it is the Yes. All right. So the book is Overcoming Guilt and Shame by Anthony Felix. So I haven't read it yet. I have it ordered, but I have not got a chance to crack it open.
That Amazon link. Shout out to Amazon. Maybe they'll sponsor us one day.
Shout out. But she even told me, she's like, now when you get this book and you start reading it, like, and it won't take long, but you're going to think that someone wrote this book about your life. Just because of all I guess everything I was telling her that I was dealing with was checking off every box that this book discusses. So if I had to guess, I would assume that there's a lot of people that have similar feelings, that we all think that we're the only ones. So again, just to reiterate, if you think you're the only one going through it, I assure you that you are not. There's somebody out there that is still struggling.
8 billion others out there with a heartbeat.
And so according to my therapist, she was saying that she gives this book to everyone that she encounters.
Yeah, because you think you're alone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's
the
at
biggest
AA,
thing.
right? At AA, like, you're not alone.
Yeah. And that was the most reassuring thing about walking in that hall the first time, because you hear people laughing and having a good time, and it's like, is this the right place? Is this Shake Shack, or where are we at here? I thought this was the AA hall. But it just goes to show you that you can be, sober and have a good life, because for me, I'm like, well, my life's over. What am I going to do for fun? I didn't know how to do anything without alcohol or anything like that involved. But, the biggest thing I could say is that whether it be addiction of alcohol, food, substance, whatever it is, the other side of that fence, if you can work on getting better at those things, you're going to see the true potential of what your life can be. Because I never saw it, until I made that decision. So my hope is that everybody can get to experience what I got to experience in going through that stuff. And if it's not a major addiction or a major thing, like how can you be better than you are today? And there's options, there's ways. you know, it's not going to be easy because if it were,
But you got today.
Yeah.
You're here today.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed too, like right after our session was done, was just the rest of the day was just lighter. I felt lighter. You know what I mean? That weight on my shoulders wasn't as much because a lot of the things that she was telling me about were already things that that were just sitting back here that I was telling myself, but that the other side was like, nah. You know, so just getting that reassurance out loud with somebody else, it just, again, reassures that you're not alone. You're not going through this. You're not the first person to experience this.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of people that are still struggling every day with the same stuff. You know, so my big thing is just not to be scared to take that step. You know, I take that back. It's okay to be scared, but don't let fear keep you from making that step to get better. You know, because it's the unknown. We don't know. Never done it before. What to expect.
And it's just a thought.
Yeah.
Fear is just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And, you know, so she also helped me out with journaling. I know I'd kind of mentioned that to you the other day, because I'll just stare. I have a journal at home, and I've tried it all the time, and I'll just stare at it. You know, I didn't know where to start, so she just made it real simple for me. And she's like, well, anytime you feel like your anger or your frustrations or whatever building, she's like, grab your journal, sit down, and all you gotta say is, I am feeling what? She's like, start with that.
I might practice that with my kids at the
Start
dinner
with
table.
that. Yeah. Start with that. And then if it's just one sentence, then it's one sentence. But usually you'll get a snowball effect. Once you get that out and then you get used to it, you get more familiar, it'll start flowing a little bit better. But she's like, just start with that. I am feeling what? So that's a good help or a good little hint.
For journaling.
For journaling.
And just be note taking. They don't need to have a special name. Right?
Oh yeah, she even told me, she's like, don't feel like it's got to be structured and like, you know, outline form.
You're not writing a book.
Yeah, you're not. She's like, you can be bullet points. It could be sentences.
It could be a
just,
book.
It could be whatever you want. You know, it's your book. It's your journal. You know, so if you want to go back and look at things, how things were, you know, 6 months ago, flip back and just see where you were. And that's another good way to track your progress. You know, it's like, man, I was having those episodes every single day at first. It's like, now it's not.
And so what about, here's what's going through my head. Like,
yeah,
you reach out to help, you hear the same things over and over, but it still doesn't break through, you know, and I'm thinking about, you might know exactly what I'm thinking about, like the people that finally, like, they never get it.
Yeah.
How do we help those people? Obviously, it's too late.
Yeah.
For who I'm thinking about. But.
Yeah, and it was a sad deal.
Because even we had sober conversations, our drunk conversations were awesome. I still have videos of them, plenty of them.
Yeah.
We were on the dance floor, but then we had sober conversations. It was lunch, it was coffee, it was the random ones that were the best.
Yeah.
You would pop in here, you know, and I thought we would connect, but still, there's still just so much more.
Yeah, I think one of the things, if you know, if you're really struggling or in a tough spot, regardless of what is causing that, the first thing you got to have around you is a support system. You know, whether that be mom and dad, wife and kids, aunts, uncles, you know, whoever's close to you in your life. You know, and it's got to be someone. It's got to be someone that's willing to listen. You know, because a lot of people have all this advice because of what they saw on TV or what they heard some Hollywood celebrity did, or, you know, whatever it is.
A sales pitch.
People that are in that state, they need someone just to listen to them, because all they're doing is they're isolating and they're having internal thought conversations all day long. You know, and you know, and that's the other thing too, because it's, with people like that, it's not cookie cutter, you know. So it's not, well, he did this and he got better, so we'll prescribe this for this person too. Like, you know, Chris had a hell of a background, you know, the military. You know, I don't know what he experienced doing that stuff, you know, and you know, it was around 9/11, so I mean, I'm sure he broke some necks. I'm sure he saw some bad stuff, you know, and I can't relate to that because I've not been exposed to that stuff, but. That's why I feel for people that are, you know, veterans and firefighters and cops, because they see the stuff that none of us have to deal with. They do the hard stuff so we don't have to, you know. And I have the utmost respect for that because I couldn't imagine.
Huge shout out to our veterans. God bless.
Shout out vets, first responders. But honestly, it's just taking those steps, and unfortunately, it's not a clear-cut, definitive answer for everybody. But I just recommend everybody if you're having a tough time, find some people you can talk to, and try and open up with them. But a lot of it comes with just being honest with yourself, and by honest, it's kind of hard because if you're in just a negative self-talk pattern,
yeah, some people don't know how.
That doesn't work. It doesn't
School
work.
didn't teach us how to.
Yeah. So, it's kind of a slippery slope. But the main thing is that people need to know is because if they're feeling alone, is that they're not. There are so many other people dealing with the same stuff, and even if you went and saw your neighbor the next door and just talked to him about it, I bet you'd be surprised how much you guys might have in common in terms of, well, you have thoughts like that too, but we're afraid because we don't want to be, oh, you don't have those thoughts? Like, oh, okay. So the judgment is what people worry about. But, it depends on how bad you really want to get better. Because it's not like you can just say, all right, I'm ready to get sober, and you just magically get sober. It takes a shit ton of work.
You have a different feeling. You're not so much, if not just to get better, just, I can feel a different type of way.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel like this all the time.
Well, and that's one of the things why I like to tell people, if you're in recovery or if you're just dealing with life, how you're feeling inside is generally a reflection of what you're putting the work in on the outside. So if you aren't very active and you don't get outside a lot and you're not eating healthy, you're probably not going to feel great inside physically, or you're probably not going to feel great about yourself when you look in the mirror, So again, there's negative self-talk. So what are you doing to better that? And it starts wherever it needs to start. If you can, if it's just getting up off the couch, pat yourself on the back for getting off the couch. Tomorrow you get off the couch, you take 2 steps. Next day you get off the couch, you take 5 steps. And you get better. And eventually you're gonna look better. You're gonna feel better because you're putting in hard work. I always look at it, the way the human body is, just from my perspective. We're not meant to be docile people. We're meant to move. We're meant to be around others, and if you're just secluding yourself and not being active and not being outside, it's going to make everything so much harder. And just whatever motivation you need. I know everybody always talks about, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to be your primary motivation, to get better. It can't be for, your daughter or your wife or whatever. And I've never 100% agreed with that. I understand what they're saying. But at the same time, it's like if you're barely hanging on and the thought of your kid is the only thing that can keep you going, use it. If it's working, use it. Now, I'm not saying you should use that all the time. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you're doing it for yourself. Yeah. But in doing it for yourself, you're doing it for all those people, So, again, it's just trying to keep an eye on your diet. Try to cut all the sugars out that you can. The sugars are what's, the sugars are what are killing people. Sugars are not beneficial like people think.
This last 2 weeks, a friend of mine recommended a cappuccino. So I've gone from a 16-ounce latte to a 12-ounce latte to like a 6-ounce cappuccino, So there's less milk and little by little, right? Doing the small changes.
More coffee, less sugar.
Yeah.
More coffee, less sugar. So
because a latte is just sugar with a little bit of coffee.
Yeah. Milk, yeah. So but it's one of those things where you just got to start. You got to find a starting spot, and wherever you're at, I support you. Gerardo supports you, even if we don't know who you are. We're here for you. That's why we're doing this podcast, is because we want people to know that whatever it is that you're going through, I guarantee you, one of us in some way, shape, or form have had the thought, the action. Yeah. We've probably done it or something along those lines.
And one thing consistent about me and you is the amount of people we talk to a day.
Yeah.
Like, on average, how many people come to you a day? How many conversations do you have a day?
20 to 40. I mean, I don't even know.
And then some people can't even handle like 2 conversations with anybody,
Yeah.
We, of course, phone blows up from beginning to end.
Yeah.
All day long, but I love it.
I enjoy it.
I
don't like being alone, and guess what? Whenever I was drinking, I was isolated on an island, and I didn't want to be around anybody, so I just felt ashamed of myself, showing my face in public or, what did I do the other night? Maybe, if I walk into this bar and everyone's like, oh shit, you remember what you did last night? And like, probably I didn't,
No.
which makes it even worse. Your anxiety just shoots through the roof. And then you got to hear them tell you what you did last night. And it's just stacking. Next thing you know, those shoulders are weighed down. So it all contributes to it, But yeah, today I love being around people, and with my clients especially, like, they're all like, oh, I appreciate you listening. I had a lady the other day, I'm talking about.
It's more therapy for you.
I had a lady the other day, she did like 30 minutes of workout, and then the other 30 minutes she was crying. We were troubleshooting an instance that happened in her house and this and that. And, and we worked through it. And by the time we got done, she was feeling better, but sometimes people just need to get it out, because
it's worth the investment, dude, because I'm struggling with, again, mirror image in my 40s.
Yeah.
I love sugar. Yes, I'm trying to cut it out. I only work out if I'm taking a trip, and then I try to crunch it in 2 months.
Yeah.
And then it's that roller coaster. So I reached out to Matt this week. Matt, take me out of my brain. Accountability. Let's start boxing.
Yeah.
I have everything I need in my house. I have a gym. I have a sauna. The rower, the killer bike, the lifetime warranty treadmill. It's all there, and I don't use it.
Yeah.
Because I can't coach myself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You see these, and I see it a lot with like high
performers.
Mm-hmm. Like, they have so much responsibility that they're thinking about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That hour, they don't want to think about shit.
Yeah.
They want me to
kick
tell
my
you
ass,
what to
Matt,
do. Now we're going here. We got 8 reps here. You're gonna do a minute here, and then we're going over here for 40 crunch. Like, whatever it is, they want that, and that's the neat thing about it, because because a lot of times those high performers that I respect, or I maybe strive to be like, or like maybe I try and surround myself with people that are higher achievers, because you hang around them enough, it's going to rub off.
Yep.
And I'm not content with where I'm at. I want to keep climbing. So for me, it's like I enjoy the aspect of knowing, like, man, this dude is an all-around badass, yet he needs help with something that something that's to me seems so. How does he not know? How does he not motivated? He's here all the time doing backflips and jumping jacks and just bouncing off the walls. Like, how can he not take an hour out of his day to just get it done? But that's the neat thing about it. I don't need to know. But whenever they're in the office or working out, I can ask. And I'll talk about it. And then the next thing you know, we're striking up a conversation about what would normally be uncomfortable stuff. But high achievers around the high achievers aren't ashamed to talk about where they struggle, where their faults are, where their imperfections are.
Because they want to get better.
Yeah.
They still have that opportunity. You got another day.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. I mean, everybody has a lot to do every day.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it's whatever level of employment it is, to owning a business and all that. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's it's one of those things that whenever you look at I don't know, I guess keep resorting back to David Goggins and Cam Hanes, but those are people I would love to be even a quarter of what they are, because just the will to just keep going. You never hear the quit. And what I love about Cam is he is always just so like laid back and just chill, and it's like, all right, just gotta keep listening. Maybe I'll figure it out. But then he came out with a book, and he's got a really good book where he talks about it. And he talks in his book how he had some struggles with alcohol in his younger years when he was married and starting a family, and not working a really high paying job, just trying to figure out how to get by and to provide. And recently he had a podcast with him and his wife, and like I'd always been curious.
How long have they been married?
A long time. So Cam's probably almost 60. He's in his upper 50s, but he looks like he's 40, But he had his wife on, and I've always heard, he's always referred to her, but like never see her in the spotlight, never see pictures of her or anything like that. And she finally agreed to come on for a podcast where it was Cam and her. And it just explains a lot of how he is, or why he is the way he is, having her as that support. Like, just hearing how they work together, like, it's so neat, because we know all about Cam and all the accomplishments he's had and this and that, where she's over there like, well, yeah, there's all these accomplishments, but like, you want to hear the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole other side that we never know about or hear about. And not to say that he doesn't talk. He's not afraid to make fun of himself and do all that. But, just hearing her talk about how they went through it, especially in the early days when he was a little bit more reckless, and his big thing was he just wanted to be better for his kids. He's like,
ooh, they will change your life.
yeah, so for me, we've talked a little bit about what I'm looking to hopefully do moving forward, and I'm just trying to take the steps that I think I need to do to get there, which I'm one day closer to that than I was yesterday, so
you actually did it.
The big thing I would like to just, maybe we can end on where we at here. Yeah, we're probably getting close. One thing I'd like to kind of end on just talking about is just about being able to take those little victories. We always want the instant gratification. We want the big house up on the hill. We want the big boat.
You don't want a boat.
To get all this stuff, you have to stack little victory after little victory after little victory. And guess what? You stack them high enough, next thing you know, you got that house on the hill, or you got that boat, or whatever it is. So that's something that I struggle with, is being able to recognize all the good that I have done. But one thing that I would like to say is that I found out yesterday is that all that negative self-talk, all that, negative self-worth, that's who I was. And this was brought to my attention. That's who I was, past tense. That's not who I am today. I'm a better person than that. So even just phrasing my inner monologue as that, as past, not present, made things a lot easier the rest of the day yesterday. And not just that, but I slept like a rock,
Nice.
So
you're a brand new person today.
Yeah.
You reset yourself today.
And you guys can be too. Like, that's the thing. We all have today. Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
That person's gone, done.
Yeah.
There's no longer that person.
If we messed up today, guess what? The sooner we go to sleep, the sooner we get another chance tomorrow. So I don't know. For me, it's just one of those things. I want to make sure everybody knows that they're loved, whether they have some people around them or not. You are. You're not the only one going through it. And what do you think?
Cheers.
Final thoughts?
Can we say cheers?
Final thoughts?
Cheers. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
No, thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm Gerardo Cornejo.
Matt Chinn.
Not So Perfect podcast.
Not so perfect.
Might see some microphones next time.
That's right. We're moving up in the world.
Peace.
Have a good night.